Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time we are talking about how the most peak Nintendo Direct of 2025 has yet to happen. Now some of you might be listening and thinking, what are you talking about here? We just got a big 60-minute Nintendo Direct presentation, a full-on general, with all the Mario Anniversary stuff. How could there be another Direct this year during the holiday season that would be considered the most peak of them all throughout the entire year, this launch year of Switch 2? And obviously, this is subjective. This is my opinion. But I do think there is a Direct that has not been announced yet that will happen this year that will be the most exciting, biggest moment of the year, at least for me, but I also think for a lot of you watching as well. I imagine a lot of you can guess what I'm getting at here. I've left several hints. But this conversation isn't just about this Direct, although it's a big part of it. It's about the overall Nintendo Direct situation and how Nintendo's been positioning themselves and what's next. So we're going to be talking about this Direct situation, other Nintendo Direct presentations we may be getting this year. That's right, I think there may still be more beyond even this peak Direct and the already confirmed second Kirby Air Riders Direct. But then how will Nintendo handle things in the beginning of next year? Are there any big announcements that are on the horizon? And I mean big in terms of like a really big game. So I think we have some fun things to discuss today. So I gotta tell you, I've been feeling really good about my diet lately. And a lot of that is thanks to Huel, the sponsor for today's video. Huel provides nutritionally complete meals, not just a protein shake. We are talking about a formula composed of many high-quality healthy ingredients such as coconut, pea protein, and flaxseed. This has been developed by expert nutritionists, and there are tons of health benefits such as reduced fatigue, immune support, and high protein for muscle building, which has been ideal for my fitness goals and lack of time. I don't have to cook every meal. With Huel, I just take the cup, fill it to a line, put in a couple scoops, close, and shake. There are a variety of flavors. My personal favorites have been salt caramel and banana, especially with some ice to make it into a nice, refreshing, and filling drink at the end of my days. So you can check out Huel and save 15% off with my code AR15 using the link in the description below or by scanning the QR code you see on screen here. Alright, so going into this year, in the beginning of the year, I was theorizing that we would see a great many Nintendo Direct presentations throughout this year because it would be the launch year for Nintendo Switch 2, and that's how Nintendo handled Switch 1. There was a lot of different types of Nintendo Directs. Yeah, there were the big general presentations, but there were other smaller presentations that were more customized for specific audiences within the overall Nintendo fanbase, game series specific Directs. And throughout this year, this theory has held strong. We have gone 3 big general Nintendo Direct presentations, one of them being the introduction to Switch 2, and then the most recent big general Direct presentation had included within it, for the first big segment, essentially a Mario 40th Anniversary Direct within the big general Direct. But we've also gotten game-specific Directs in Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Kirby Air Riders, and at the end of July, there was a partner showcase. There has been a decent amount of Direct presentations throughout the year, but yet, I still think there's got to be more. Listen, I liked the recent Direct we got, and I feel like a little bit of that has been lost because I told people I graded the Direct as a C or a C+. But what I think some people miss about that, and I tried to have a nuanced conversation about it, and yet despite that, many people still got very angry at me and unsubscribed. What I was trying to explain is that when you compare that General Direct to other General Directs during key points in a generation like the launch year, it's kind of par for the course. Maybe slightly above par for the course, but that's pretty much it. A C is average. A C isn't below average. So if I'm looking at it from that perspective, this General Direct compared to other big General Directs in history, it's maybe slightly above average. It's good. There were a variety of games there that I liked. I enjoyed the presentation. Now, maybe other people would be more willing to listen to just a scale in relation to just overall Directs, and If that's the case, then I'm going to grade this Direct a little bit higher, maybe a B or so, perhaps maybe a B+, because it's a big, thick, dense Direct. But ultimately, I came away from the presentation feeling that Nintendo was still holding back a lot. There was still much more they could show. They could have told us a lot more about Metroid Prime 4. They could have revealed another big Megaton game that's guaranteed to sell 10+ million copies. And I guess you could argue that Pokopia might be that, but we usually don't consider Pokemon spin-offs in that conversation, but it's certainly possible given that it has that Animal Crossing style of gameplay. But the ultimate point I'm getting at here is that while this Direct was huge and it did a lot for sort of telling us what we need to expect for this holiday season, there is still room for more. So for example, Elden Ring was announced to be coming to Nintendo Switch 2 in the April Switch 2 Direct this year. And throughout this entire time, it's been said to be coming out in the year of 2025, and now we are entering the holiday season. There are other games that were on a similar trajectory, such as Final Fantasy VII Remake that was announced to be coming out this January, which is awesome. I'm excited for that release. But here we are, about to enter October, and Elden Ring for Switch 2 still just has the blanket 2025 release timing. Yes, that's right. On the official Nintendo site, it's still listed as a 2025 release. So no official delays have been made yet. Some people are thinking it's going to be delayed, but maybe it's not going to be delayed. Maybe there's still so much Nintendo has yet to announce that there's going to be another Direct presentation. Now, I'm not here trying to say there's going to be another big general Direct in the year of 2025. I think we're probably waiting until at least February for the next big general Direct. However, there is still room for more announcements. Maybe they just make this announcement of the release date outside of a Direct presentation. That is certainly possible, but I am leaning in the direction of there being another partner showcase. Maybe this partner showcase happens in early November. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is actually coming out in early November, so maybe they might want to have a partner showcase in that same weekend and have Age of Imprisonment headline that presentation so it can get one more little push before it comes out. And for those who may be confused, a partner showcase is about partner releases, in other words, games not made by Nintendo, and while Age of Imprisonment is a Zelda spin-off, it's being made by Koei Tecmo. We've seen Hyrule Warriors in multiple partner showcases before, including Age of Imprisonment, so that's why it would perhaps be in a presentation like this. But there are still a variety of third-party games that we've been hoping to see an announcement on, and I think the situation is that there are just so many that Nintendo has a lot to announce, and they're going to be doing it in waves. And so there may be another partner showcase where more may be announced, like perhaps the teased Sea of Thieves, or perhaps the widely rumored, from apparently many different developers behind the scenes, of Red Dead Redemption 2 coming to Switch 2. And then there's also that GameStop leak of Crimson Desert, which maybe is not actually legitimate, but I keep holding out hope that it is. GameStop did have a listing of Crimson Desert for Switch 2. The question is, was it just like there as a placeholder, or is it based off something real? We don't know. But point is, there's so many different third-party games that are probably waiting to be announced for Switch 2, and Nintendo may be saving another partner showcase for these games to be announced this year. Which may be why a game like Elden Ring has yet to see a release date, because they're saving that for a little bit later, even if it is coming out this year somehow still. And actually, me thinking more on it, maybe waiting all the way until the beginning of November for the partner showcase might be too long. Maybe we're talking more so like October. Possibly. Now that the Mario Galaxy movie has been officially announced, we should be expecting some more advertisements and announcements for this movie, including perhaps new trailers in Mario movie directs as we got for the prior Mario movie. So that's something else that could show up relatively soon this year. Something else that needs to happen is the already confirmed Kirby Air Riders Direct. Air Riders is coming out on November 20th, so when is this presentation happening? It's already been announced. It could happen at any point. I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo just announces it this week or next week and it just happens and there you go. Some people might be wondering, why is there a second Direct for Kirby Air Riders but no Direct for Metroid Prime 4, which I'll get to in a moment here. And I think this just has to do with how Masahiro Sakurai wants to advertise this game. He really liked the multiple Direct presentation for Smash Bros., and the way he's treating Kirby Air Riders is very similar, so I think he's probably going to treat it even more similarly with the overall marketing plan and have multiple direct presentations leading up to release, because there's so much more to announce and talk about. Which definitely has me curious on what else there is to say about this game, so I'm definitely keeping my eyes peeled for that one. But what's also interesting about the situation is that a lot of people were very upset with the initial Kirby Air Riders Direct, because at that point Nintendo had still not said anything about Metroid Prime 4. And here we are, Kirby Air Riders is getting a second Direct, and Metroid Prime 4 still hasn't gotten a Nintendo Direct announced. And there was a rumor suggesting that it might be announced during the general Direct presentation, and that has not happened. But also, Metroid Prime 4 is not coming out till December 4th. It is the last big Nintendo game of the year. And so with that in mind, I don't think we should be dooming and glooming over this. I think we should just be aware that Nintendo's likely going to jump into the big marketing push for this game last, because it's literally the last game from Nintendo this year. And so, yes, I still expect there to be a Metroid Prime 4 Direct. If Nintendo had one for Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Kirby Air Riders, 2 for Kirby Air Riders, there have been all the Pokemon presentations for Legend of ZA. Really, the only game left out here is Metroid Prime 4, and I don't think this is a situation where they're leaving out Metroid Prime 4. I think this is a situation where it's just coming out later into the year, which is why they've been so quiet and have only been drip-feeding us information. Fact of the matter is, we've actually been seeing a lot of promising signs that there's a lot of excitement building up for Metroid Prime 4, and a lot of people are getting more and more interested in this game. Amiibos are selling out, the game's selling out, different versions, different bundles everywhere. It's on multiple bestsellers lists. It's the #1 best-selling game on Amazon for Switch 2. Now, this is all pre-order stuff, right? So that doesn't mean that when the game comes out on December 4th that it's going to be the best-selling game of the year or anything like that. I hope it is, but we're not there yet. I'm just saying we're seeing some positive signs here that there is clearly a high demand for Metroid Prime 4. People are eager for this game, and Nintendo is likely very well aware of this. It is a very high budget title from Nintendo. They're going to need to sell a handful of million, if not more, for it to have been a worthwhile project. So I think Nintendo likely has a big plan here, and actually, during the Direct, while it was subtle, they did tell us that they have multiple Amiibo waves planned, and then there's also the art book, and it was all branded as the journey to the launch of Prime 4. So the art book comes out October 28th, then the first week of November we have the 2 Metroid Prime 4 Amiibos of Samus, and then on launch day for Metroid Prime 4 in early December we have the Silex Amiibo release. So there's already a wave of releases here that are all official, all meant to further advertise and cross-promote Metroid Prime 4. And I actually think this window of time where we see the release of the art book and also the Amiibo launches in early November, this window of time is when we're going to be getting the Metroid Prime 4 Direct. Previously, before the Direct, I was theorizing that it was going to be this window of time where there would for sure be another big Nintendo published title, and it could possibly be Metroid Prime 4. As it turns out, it's Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, but there's still a lot of Metroid stuff happening during this time, and given that Prime 4 is coming out in December, I am led to believe that if we are getting a Metroid Prime 4 Direct, it's probably going to be during this window of time. If you look at the Mario Kart World Direct, it came out April 17th, Mario Kart World, the launch was switched to June 5th, about a month and a half beforehand, 6 weeks. We look at the Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct. It came out June 18th. Bonanza came out July 17th, about a month beforehand, about 4 weeks. And so I think we should be considering that with Prime 4 coming out December 4th, if it's going to be getting a game-specific Direct, it would be about 4 to 6 weeks before the release of the game, which positions us for a late October to early November release. It lines up pretty well with where that art book and Samus Amiibos are coming out. I will also note that with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the game came out in December, but there was a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Direct in early November. And then with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, it came out December 2018, but there was an early November Direct for Smash Bros. As well. So we could be looking at an early November, maybe late October, Nintendo Direct for Metroid Prime 4. And yes, it is this Nintendo Direct that I think is going to be the most peak Nintendo Direct of the year. Now, I'm saying that as a Metroid fan, but I'm also saying that as someone that's seeing some signs here that there is a growing interest in Metroid Prime 4. Think of it like this. What was perhaps the most exciting presentation of 2023 from Nintendo? I would say it wasn't even actually a Nintendo Direct, but with Zelda series producer Eiji Aonuma for Tears of the Kingdom. We finally got an extended gameplay look of the game, and I made sure to go back and take a look. This presentation got 8.6 million views on Nintendo of America's YouTube page, which is more than any other single Nintendo Direct presentation throughout the year of 2023. And I only bring this up to illustrate my point that there was a lot of excitement for Tears of the Kingdom and this presentation. There was quite a build-up, there was a great deal of anticipation. Nintendo was very quiet about the game until that point. And I think something similar is happening with Metroid Prime 4. There is an eagerness to learn more and more about Metroid Prime 4. As we talked about, people clearly are interested in Metroid Prime 4. Nintendo's been drip-feeding elements of the game, and little by little, more and more people are starting to buy into it, but they've yet to really divulge everything there is to know about Metroid Prime 4 before it actually launches, similar to Tears of the Kingdom. And so we've been waiting to learn about Metroid Prime 4 to really get a significant presentation and focus on just this game, and that's going to be an exciting moment for everyone who's been looking forward to Metroid Prime 4. I also think Metroid Prime 4 is likely going to be considered the best Nintendo game of the year. From a critical acclaim perspective, this seems like a safe bet, because you look at the history of Metroid Prime releases, and they're always rated highly according to Metacritic. The lowest Metroid Prime score, Metroid Prime 3, is still a very high score that would position it as a Game of the Year candidate kind of game, and Nintendo only has one game that has a similar score, and that's Donkey Kong Bonanza. Do we think that Metroid Prime 4 is going to come out to be the worst reviewed of the entire Metroid Prime series? I mean, sure, it's possible, but they've been taking more time and care with this game than any other prior Metroid Prime game. Now, development times overall are just longer nowadays, but I'm feeling pretty optimistic in saying that Metroid Prime 4 is going to review very well, as every single Retro Studios made game has, and it's definitely going to be in that conversation for one of the best Nintendo games of the year. And when I think about what we may learn in this Direct, we've talked about some of these elements already. We already know about the open area desert. We already know about the enhanced visuals and performance. We already know that Sonic is playing a role, but recently there's been a lot of conversation that there may be time travel, and we've been theorizing on there being a time travel element to Metroid Prime 4 for many years, because the Prime 4 producer, Kensuke Tanabe, has been talking about there being a time travel mechanic in the game for many years. And now we're just seeing more and more evidence of this, like with the box art. So if there is a big time travel hook of some kind, then that would be presented in this Metroid Prime 4 Beyond Direct. Or whatever it is it's left to tell us about Metroid Prime 4 before release, whatever that big hook or exciting element it is that they're still holding back on, or perhaps it's just more of what they've shown off, but more of what they've shown off really helps to sell us on the game, that's going to help this presentation to be one of the most exciting of the year, and it may be my personal favorite of the year, and I think a lot of you watching may feel similar as well. And yet, there's another element to consider here that may help this Direct to be the most peak of the year, and that is because there could be another set of announcements in this Direct. It's not guaranteed, but if we are to get Metroid Prime 2 and 3 before the release of Metroid Prime 4, my bet is that at this point in time it would happen around the Metroid Prime 4 Direct, and perhaps it would be shadow dropped or announced just a few weeks before release. I'm leaning in the direction of a shadow drop. Maybe they even handle it very similar to Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, where it's like a Metroid Prime 2 plus 3 package, and they announce the physical version's coming out in a few weeks, but also perhaps they maybe shadow drop the digital version during the Metroid Prime 4 Direct, so you can play them, try them out. I don't think they would be like these super ambitious remasters like Prime 1 Remastered. I think they'd probably be a very simple remastering like what we're seeing with Galaxy 1 and 2, but they would still look a little bit better. They would have the mouse controls, they would have the motion controls, they would have all the quality of life improvements, and people would be able to play them on Switch 1 or Switch 2 before the release of Prime 4 in December. That would certainly be a big announcement for a lot of people. And by the way, I also would expect that during this Direct, they would probably give us a little bit of a story summary for those who are unfamiliar with the Metroid Prime story. That way, they can choose to either pick up Metroid Primes 1, 2, or 3 before release, or just wait until Prime 4, which, by the way, you're not going to need to play Metroid Primes 1 through 3 to enjoy Metroid Prime 4 fully, but you will have that option if you want to have that background knowledge or just more experience of the series overall. Now, I did say I would talk a little bit about what's next. And looking at the release slate for 2026, we already have a set specific release date for Mario Tennis Fever on February 12th. I'm thinking that we don't get the next February Direct until a little bit after that, but still in February. And it's in this presentation that I think Nintendo will need to announce, yes, more details on all the other games we know about coming out in 2026, such as Mario Wonder Switch 2 Edition, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, Tomodachi Life, but also Pokopia, Rhythm Heaven, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, Splatoon Raiders, the Dust Bloods. There's some significant games there. Some of those are going to get updates during this Direct presentation, but none of these are going to be the biggest game of the year. In fact, I wouldn't be totally shocked if none of these are even the second biggest game of the year. Maybe not even the third, although I do think Tomodachi Life and the Dust Bloods have a lot of sales potential here. I would assume that the typical Pokemon Presents that happens in February, this time it would be for the 30th anniversary for Pokemon, would happen, and in there they would be announcing the next new generation of Pokemon to come out at the end of the year. And that's definitely going to be in the top 3 biggest games of the year for Nintendo in 2026. But I think one more could be announced in February, in a general Nintendo Direct, and maybe it's too soon to think this, but I think there's a possibility that we could be talking about a big Zelda announcement during this presentation. Now, that may seem crazy, but hear me out here. We're hearing that there is going to be a big new Zelda Lego set coming out in March, and this is supposedly for Link vs. Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time. So if all of our theories for so many years, and even some of the rumors, are going to hold true, and Nintendo's doing something special for Zelda's 40th anniversary, maybe they might make it known to the world that they're coming out with a remake in this February Direct of 2026. It's also possible they wait later into the year because they may be saving that as like the big holiday release next to Pokemon. That's certainly possible. But I also think there's a legitimate chance we could be looking at the next brand new 3D Mario game to come out on the holiday of 2026, and they wouldn't be talking about that earlier in the year because they're focusing on the Mario movie. They would talk about it maybe starting in the summer, and it comes out on the holiday, very similar to how we saw Mario Wonder announced in the summer following the release of the first recent Mario movie. We'll see what actually happens, but those are my thoughts on this current overall Nintendo Direct situation, and how I think there's still at least one more Direct that's going to get us really excited, at least me, and that's the Metroid Prime 4 Beyond Nintendo Direct. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.